Hello to everyone here live at Blackbaud and those of you joining us on live stream. My name is Jerry Greenwood. I'm a board member and a chair of the governance committee. And I want to welcome all of you to the 148th annual meeting for the Charleston Animal Society. Now, once a year, we take time to go through the previous results of the previous year, and as a board, report to our membership. We don't like to do this in a dull, stereotypical way. That wouldn't be Charleston Animal Society. Rather, we want this to be dynamic and fun. So, I hope all of you, including those on live stream, will enjoy the next hour. And those of us here at Blackbaud, please join us for some fellowship after the hour. Let's now give a big hand of applause for Blackbaud, a huge thanks for this beautiful venue they've shared with us again this year. And I'm actually very thrilled to announce this year's annual meeting is in honor of a special board member. His commitment and passion for animals is second to none, and he is our secretary of the board of directors, Peter Waters. It's with love and appreciation we honor him today. This one's for you, Peter.
South Carolina, we've done it again. We broke every adoption record we've ever had here in our state during our 4th annual Pick Me SC adoption event.
1,723 dogs and cats went into loving homes with pets available in 50 locations in every region of our state.
Many people who adopted at Pick Me SC in the past shared that they'd never visited their local animal shelter before the event. We're one of only 2 states in the entire country to hold a statewide event for dogs and cats, so everyone should be proud.
It's because of you and your incredible response to adoption events like this one that we know we will reach our goal of No Kill South Carolina 2024.
The lives of thousands of animals across our state are still at stake. This is a plea to all veterinarians and animal hospitals. There's a terrible backlog of animals in need of spay or neuter at shelters. As you know, by state law, we cannot adopt animals into homes without having been spayed or neutered. So please, veterinarians, reach out to your local shelters ASAP. They are not asking for free help. They just need an extra pair of surgical hands to get them through this crisis.
Transports are one of our life-saving strategies. When a shelter is overcrowded, we help transport animals to a different shelter where their chance at adoption goes up. We also have partnerships with other shelters outside of South Carolina who are willing to take at-risk animals, but in order for us to save their lives, we need volunteers like you to drive them there. When hurricanes hit or cruelty cases occur, we are often called to transport animals out of harm's way, and it is our transport volunteers to the rescue.
When it came to emergency transports, our team traveled more than 21,000 miles across the country, pouring 700 staff and volunteer manpower hours into 16 different transports. That included transports that helped to alleviate overcrowding in shelters across the state, plus 3 different hurricane responses, and sending our resources to Kentucky after the devastating tornadoes.
It's a statewide emergency because the lives of thousands of animals are at stake.
Nearly every animal shelter is at a breaking point.
To solve this unprecedented crisis in South Carolina, shelters across the state have joined together to launch SummerSlam Emergency Rescue Operation.
Everyone is encouraged to go to their local shelters now to adopt or foster animals at risk.
Learn more at nokillsouthcarolina.org.
Afternoon, everyone. I am Martin Deputy. I'm a board member and the treasurer of the Animal Society, and we're here to kick off the annual meeting with the board chairman's remarks. Laurel Greer is a steadfast community philanthropist, and a champion for animals. And she has led the Board of Directors Governance Organization through perhaps one of the most challenging years ever, the pandemic. Shortly after Laurel was elected board chair, we had our first national lockdown, and our first meeting was by Zoom, all new to us by then, or new to me. She maintained the board's involvement throughout this process, the government's, and this remarkable organization during the past 2 years of this pandemic. And she will continue to lead this country and this organization and this community through the up and coming events with her steady hand and her wisdom. I give you Laurel Greer, our chairman.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you, Jerry. And thank you, Blackbaud, for once again sharing this beautiful headquarters with us. It's so good to see all of your smiling faces in person. But also knowing that we have many that could not be with us today and joining us virtually, we thank you all for being here. A little over 2 years ago, we were in the same room for the 146th annual meeting, and how things have changed since then. Who would have imagined the past 2 years? A global pandemic disrupting all aspects of life, and we extend our thoughts and sympathies to those of you suffering losses. A roller coaster economy, in and out of recession, including a large migration from the workforce and continuing supply chain challenges. Political division breaking up long-term friendships over a myriad of issues. Accelerated crime, including animal cruelty, in unprecedented numbers throughout our community and state. And of course, a major global threat to democracy everywhere with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and its unimaginable and heinous atrocities against humanity. But we're still here. We're here in a free and democratic society. And regardless of our political views, all of us here understand that animals are integral to our families, and we set aside our differences to improve the plight of animals and the families who love and care for them. We also recognize that compassion is a learned value, and we never let up on influencing the lives of thousands of children by teaching compassion through our humane education programs, because we believe that it is needed now more than at any time in recent memory. Today culminates the end of National Volunteer Week. Let me say, as the chief volunteer for Charleston Animal Society, that this monumental 148-year mission to prevent cruelty to animals would not exist without the army of volunteers giving not only time, but themselves in caring for animals, children, and the families who love them. We celebrate you this week and every day. In fact, for a moment of reprieve from the pandemic last May, we had a welcome home gathering for our volunteers at the Animal Society. It was one of my most enjoyable experiences. The hugs and kisses, the tears and empathy, the human need for that connection reminded me of why we all stand shoulder to shoulder to do what we do. And we will be reinstituting our annual volunteer recognition event on May 22nd, so stay tuned for more information. Would any volunteers in the room please stand so that we can recognize you? Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. I want to thank the Board of Directors for governing this organization with their full commitment, enthusiasm, and passion, while also navigating their own personal and professional lives during the worst of the pandemic. We worked continuously with the leadership staff, day by day, to ensure that this enormous life-saving ship successfully weathered the storm. Board members past, current, and incoming, please stand so that our membership can engage with you following the program. Let's also recognize the incredible staff who were on the front lines of these life-saving efforts. They also were totally dedicated during the trying times of the pandemic, especially when we were not able to rely as much on our amazing volunteers. I get choked up thinking about how blessed we are to have such a committed staff. Would our wonderful staff please stand and be recognized? Some, but not all, of the achievements your Charleston Animal Society realized last year alone were saving all the healthy and treatable animals coming into its care for the 9th year in a row, reducing statewide intake and saving more lives for 5 years in a row, leading multiple disaster and emergency responses for hurricanes in the Gulf and South Carolina animal cruelty operations, operating continuously through reduced staffing and volunteers, fundraising events, and other activities due to the pandemic, achieving an exemplary audit for 10 years in a row, and earning the top-rated nonprofit spot 9 years in a row, and the Better Business Bureau's Torch Award for transparency and ethic. We give special thanks to our amazing president and CEO, Joe Elmore, for leading us in our efforts to accomplish these achievements, and are confident that he will lead us to achieve our future goals. Joe, please stand and be recognized. Gotcha, Joe. He didn't expect that. You see, we have to be strong, not only for our local animals in Charleston County, which you know we take in over 90% of them, but also for all of South Carolina, because animals know no city limits or county lines. When it comes to the fight for animals, South Carolina is only as strong as Charleston Animal Society is. There is so much more to come as our fight continues, and our dream of building the first no-kill state in the southern United States from Atlantic to Pacific, and most of America's heartland communities, and continues. Thank you all so very much for your amazing support.
Probably the closest I could come to a nutshell description of the center is it's an organization that views the world we live in through birds.
The center is a multifaceted organization. We have a medical facility where we treat injured birds. We have our public facility, which is a collection of birds of prey from all around the world that we utilize for education. The public are welcome to come and visit and explore those birds on guided tours and during flight demonstrations. And then we have our oil spill response facility, which is built specifically to deal with birds in the event of a significant oil spill here in the area. And then finally, our research component. Birds will tell us about what's happening out there in ways that no other indicator can.
Birds are very sensitive to changes in the environment. The canary in the coal mine. Has anybody ever heard of this before? Yeah, people used to take a bright little yellow canary down in a cage with them when they went to work in the mines. The mines are a very dangerous place to be. Sometimes there was a gas present. People couldn't see it, they couldn't smell it, but it would kill people very quickly if it was present. And if that gas was present, the bird would die first. Birds are a warning system for human health. That's why we think they're so important. We think that by watching bird populations, we can figure out where those problems are and fix them before they start affecting me.
What we offer as an experience is unique enough that there's always a surprise factor. We have 120 birds from all over the world. They can be intimidating, they can be endearing, but they somehow evoke a response in us, whether you're 6 years old or 60 years old. They pull something out of us merely by the exposure, by that visual experience. And we can build messages on that attention to try to exchange some of this information that we're fortunate enough to be able to gather here. Of all birds worldwide are at risk of becoming extinct in the next 100 years. That's 50 times the historical rate. Birds are one of the best monitors for the health of the ecosystem globally that we have.
I think it's important for people to realize that the work we do here is not solely about birds. It's about what they're going to tell us about our lives. Education is a critical component in that. People have to understand the problems, people have to understand the birds, and we have a really great opportunity to do that here.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. My name is George Patton Waters. I'm really known more by the name of Pat, so that if we can talk afterwards, I'd love to get to meet some of you. I'm a member and a supporter of the board of the Charleston Animal Society. Been that for some time. The Animal Society occasionally recognizes an individual with the highest award, the Elizabeth Bradham Humanitarian Award. This recognizes an individual whose lifetime of work has impacted and continues to impact the lives of countless animals in our local community and amplified beyond. It is my pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Bradham to present the award. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Pat. So, Jim, as the founder, CEO, and president of the Avian Conservation Center, the Center for Birds of Prey, it's my great honor to present you with the Humanitarian Award. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I hope you'll forgive me for, thank you, obviously, for having notes, but Dan Croce, who organized all this, I asked Dan if I was going to have a minute to express some thanks, and he said, Jim, you've got 2 to 4 minutes, and I thought, well, those of you who know me best know that brevity is not my strong point, so I thought I better have a few notes here to keep us on track. When Joe Elmore called me one Friday afternoon to inform me that I would be receiving this wonderful honor, I was happily stunned, of course, but I had to acknowledge that I find myself in a position of having this amazing group of dedicated individuals who do all their extraordinary work so well every day, and I get all the credit, right? So it's only fitting, I think, that I share this very humbling award on behalf of those with whom I have the privilege of working every day. You all know something about that, I think. I've often said that this work that we do, this work that we share, in caring for some of the most vulnerable creatures with whom we share our world, is as much about who we are as it is what we do. I spend I've been doing this 30 years, and I still can't do it. I spend my days with a tireless, gifted, committed young team who are among the most caring and selfless people I'll ever know. A team whose only agenda is to ensure that the very best circumstance for one of the more than 1,000 birds that they see each year is to be admitted to our avian medical clinic for care. And an educational team who inform more than 35,000 each year of the consequences of our actions and what we can do to minimize that impact. I could not be sharing this honor with a more deserving group. These wonderful moments of recognition are, in my view at least, largely measured by the source. The fact that this award is named for and even presented by Elizabeth Bradham, endorsed by those like Pat Walters, Laurel and Hank Greer, whose compassion and giving know no bounds, and on behalf of an organization which I hold the deepest respect, makes this day all the more meaningful indeed. I salute you all, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this very special honor. Thank you.
The Animal Society was founded as the first animal organization in South Carolina to prevent cruelty to animals.
We entered a property that was condemned on site, basically. There were feces everywhere, urine, dogs everywhere, dogs in the walls, puppies, moms, of all sizes and ages, chihuahuas. Dogs outside in the backyard, hiding under the deck, out in the yard.
We have seen across our state over 330 animal cruelty cases. That doesn't include some of the dead animals that were found in these cases, as we are calling on the community to speak for them, to support law enforcement efforts and resources needed by law enforcement to pursue these crimes. It really is up to you stepping forward to end this madness.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ted Corvey. I'm a board member here with the Charleston Animal Society, and a former line of work was the chief animal cruelty prosecutor here in Charleston County. And in that, as many of you may know, I prosecuted Caitlin's case, who put a worldwide face on animal cruelty in 2015. What many of you may not know, but I know many do, I have a bad habit of taking my work home with me, so my wife and I subsequently adopted Caitlin, where she's living to this day. So. But since launching our No Kill South Carolina project in 2016 to build the first no-kill state in the southern United States from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, over 500,000 lives have been saved. there have been over 30,000 fewer euthanasias statewide, and much of it has been based off our no-kill Charleston model. When we started this project, only 6 of the 46 counties in South Carolina had a combined dog and cat euthanasia rate less than 10%. In 2021, over 30 counties achieved this. The No-Kill South Carolina project at Charleston Animal Society has made amazing progress, and as the nation's eyes are upon us, we want to extend a large thanks to our sole funder for this project, which is Petco Love. Each year in our partnership with Petco, we recognize a South Carolina shelter that exemplifies the life-saving spirit of No-Kill South Carolina. The 2021 Shelter of the Year is awarded to Anderson Paws, and here is a video of Dr. Kim Saunders, the shelter director, receiving the award. Thank you.
This is a resolution, again, to recognize Anderson County Paws for winning No-Kill South Carolina's Organization of the Year.
As you said, I run the No-Kill South Carolina initiative at the Charleston Animal Society. No-Kill South Carolina is actually on track to eliminate euthanasia of healthy and treatable pets by 2024. We're building no-kill communities. Typically that means less than 10% of the animals that enter an open admission shelter are euthanized. Here at Anderson County, you've been a no-kill community for 5 years now.
This is a special award. This is presented from No-Kill South Carolina, which is a part of Charleston Animal Society, and they have recognized Anderson County Paws as the 2021 Organization of the Year. It's quite the honor to be here, just 5 years later, standing in the same room where I used to come and beg counsel for ordinance changes and all of these big, lofty dreams that we had here for our animal shelter. And I'm just really proud of our staff and just honored to have achieved this goal that, to make Anderson County so different for all of the animals here.
Good afternoon. I'm Don Smith, Board of Director. I'm a board member of Charleston Animal Society.
And I'm Brayley Meyer, also a board member of Charleston Animal Society.
Each year, Charleston Animal Society recognizes a business, organization, or agency that goes above and beyond their support of the Animal Society life-saving work with the Community Ambassador Award. Representing the award recipient last year, Hendrick Automotive Group, I am proud to be a presenter this year.
You may recognize this year's Community Ambassador recipient from her commercials on TV, but what you may not know is that she's a true champion for animals. A few years back, Shelley reached out to the Charleston Animal Society after following a large cruelty case, asking how she could help. Now, not only does her firm donate significantly to the Charleston Animal Society's mission and encourage other businesses to do the same, but she has personally provided 24/7 care to many animals from cruelty cases and neonatal kittens. She's an incredible role model to her staff and businesses, and an incredible foster to the animals. Dozens of animals live healthy, thriving lives because of her and her firm.
On behalf of Charleston Animal Society Board of Directors, the Community Ambassador Award is presented this year to Shelley Lee Law.
Thank you. Wow, I am so honored. One of the things that I love the most about Charleston Animal Society is their commitment to success. And they set the bar high. They have very big goals. And it amazes me because it would be so easy to give up or just to say this is too much. I mean, some of this stuff is tough. It's not easy, and yet they do it and they forge ahead and they continue every day. And then take the time for days like today, where we celebrate how far they've come, what they've done. Yes, there's a long way to go, but they're on the right track. They're moving forward. And I'm just really proud that myself and Shelley Leak Law Firm, that we are able to be a part of this organization and to be just so proud of their accomplishments. Thank you so much.
When Hurricane Ida was bearing down on the Gulf Coast this past August,
Forecasters had it coming right at us here in Gulfport, Mississippi.
This is Ida as seen from space. Millions of people are in its path,
and I think a lot of people are quite scared down there tonight.
Yeah, the days leading up to the storm, all I could think of was, what was I going to do with 500 animals in our care? We're less than a mile from the Gulf of Mexico. Awful scenarios panicked me, remembering all the animals who drowned at our old shelter during Hurricane Katrina. Just 12 hours before Ida made landfall, risking their own lives and safety, in drove Charleston Animal Society, like a guardian angel.
I know that one of the things that really motivated our disaster response team for this rescue was that we knew that South Mississippi Humane Society had been the site of an unimaginable tragedy during Hurricane Katrina.
It's getting ready to break, guys.
Animals drowned in their cages. We were unable to get to them.
Still be haunting.
Yes.
Where the old shelter is located is on a golf course by the Back Bay in Gulfport, by Gulfport Lake. So when Katrina hit, when the when the water got pushed in, it flooded that location, and they all drowned.
It was an unprecedented disaster at the time and still ranks as one of the most destructive hurricanes that the Gulf has seen.
We also knew just last year they had gone through Hurricane Zeta, which hit Gulfport, leaving their staff with no power to care for their animals, and we didn't want them to go through that again.
With the amount of staff that we had during a pandemic, were we going to be able to care for the animals had we taken another direct hit like that?
So we arrived at midnight as one of the last pet evacuations before Hurricane Ida hit, and we pulled 50 dogs for rescue, relaying them to shelters around Florida for adoption.
Had we not had Charleston Animal Society come to our rescue, we would have been in tough shape.
From the bottom of my heart and all the animal lovers across the Mississippi Gulf Coast, we want to thank Charleston Animal Society for saving so many lives.
I'm going to take a liberty and ask you to please applaud what you've just seen. Hi, how are you? I'm Patricia Henley, board member of the Charleston Animal Society. Each year, our president and CEO addresses the state of the organization for the membership and our community. Now, you're not going to hear a lot of numbers and statistics. Rather, you're going to hear a compelling synopsis of how your life-saving support enables the care of between 15 and 20,000 animals each year, and how the Charleston Animal Society intends to continue its care for animals. Not only animals, children, and families as we continue to move forward. Please help me welcome our CEO and President, Joe Elmore.
Wow, hey everybody, and everybody out there in virtual land. I kind of feel like you know, those old, well, some of you won't remember this, but some of you will, those old Johnny Carson shows at night, the Tonight shows, you know, live from LA, the studio, live from the studio in Burbank, I think is what it said. So to all of our guests out there in virtual land, and keep in mind with Facebook, we have over 250,000 people possibly watching, and this will be recorded and videoed, replayed for this massive membership of humanity. So live from down here in little old Charleston, South Carolina on Daniel Island, Blackbaud headquarters, we present you with the state of the organization. But thank you, everybody, and thank you, Patricia, for that and those kind words. And thank you, Laurel, for sneaking that line in earlier. That definitely caught me by surprise. Sometimes the CEO thinks they know everything, right? Don't say anything anyway. Big shout out to Blackbaud for continuing to share their wonderful facilities with the Animal Society for a variety of events at no cost to the Animal Society. And thanks to so many, thanks to Dan Crossy for producing these, annual smell the roses kind of moments that I like to refer to them as, so we can look back and we can reflect on the success and, and this noble cause. Sometimes we get frustrated. I think a lot of folks sometimes will share the same frustration that I have with, let's just redirect our focus from trying to create a hierarchy of oppression and just provide assistance and a way out to those who are oppressed and spend our energy on that. And everybody from so many people, animals, all aspects of humanity, the environment. Look at what Jim Elliott has done with his vision at the Avian Conservation Center for the Birds of Prey. I had the honor and privilege of getting a personal tour from Jim a number of years ago of that remarkable endeavor that is just up the road from us. And, not only that, but, let me mention this, Dan also, not only does he produce this, all of our videos, which really emphasize and underscore our messaging that animals are important in the lives of families. Animals are important in the lives of families. And I know all of you get those emails from us throughout the year, vote for Charleston Animal Society, vote for Charleston Animal Society, vote for Charleston Animal Society. And if you haven't voted yet, I'm sure there's something to vote for Charleston Animal Society this afternoon. But just check in with Kay Hyman, because she is the Tom Brady of, it's only taken 10 years for Kay to understand football analogies. But Kay is the Tom Brady of those contests. But the reason we do it, it's not for our egos or vanity or that kind of thing. It's to send a message throughout the community, and the message is animals are important in the lives of our families. Back to Dan. Dan also, when he's not doing videos, he's also producing the largest pet circulated magazine in the state of South Carolina now for, I think, something like 7 years in a row, Carolina Tales. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that this is not a newsletter for Charleston Animal Society, because we shed light on a lot of animal organizations across our state that don't have the capacity that Charleston Animal Society has. Just as we shared the Shelter of the Year award with by naming Anderson Paws and their work and their spirit that is just so admirable in the pursuit of making the plight of animals much, much better in our state. And thanks to Christina, Andrew, and so many of the staff and volunteers who have organized this. If you feel like you've gotten too many reminders to be here, just blame it on Christina. She's somewhere around here. Even that, I set them another reminder. We've ordered food. But Christina, Andrew, everybody, all the staff, thank y'all. Thank y'all for doing this at a time when we are at overcapacity, we are in crisis. We are just, I think we're about 10 days into the largest animal cruelty operation that the Sheriff's Office has launched in certainly modern history. If I ever want to go back past modern history, I always, just go find Kay and ask her. Anyway, trust me, she'll get me back. But a very special thanks also to Peter Waters, who is unwavering in his commitment through his board tenure, not only to Charleston Animal Society, but to so many organizations here, animal organizations in the Low Country. And I know, Peter, that you're with us and watching right now, even though you couldn't be here in person. We know you're there. I also want to recognize all of you who have done anything to improve the plight of animals anywhere. Thank you. And when I say everyone,
I really mean everyone. A few years ago, we developed a campaign to communicate and underscore this effort or this clarification or definition, if you will, of the organization. Of the organization not belonging to any one person, not being about any one person. It belongs to everyone. And hence we introduced you, our Charleston Animal Society, as our mantra. So thank you, everybody. Charleston Animal Society is not the cause. It is not the end. It is a means to the end. The end, the promised land, the dream that this flagship has got to be robust to realize that dream, to get to that promised land of ending cruelty to animals. And that will go a long way in ending cruelty to humans. April is a bit late for us to have an annual meeting. In fact, the last annual meeting we had, the last few were typically in that February timeframe and all. But the board of directors, let me say this about the board of directors, which is indicative of the organizational culture. The culture of prioritizing, adjusting as we prioritize to achieve results. We had other priorities in the first quarter of the year, and other reasons the board decided and saw it beneficial to push back the annual meeting. And I thank them for it. April is also a month where the nation celebrates Animal Control Officers Week, National Volunteer Appreciation Week, and of course, Prevention of Animal Cruelty Month. And we celebrate and we support all of those. But today is about you, the membership. And you know, the membership, and many of you have heard me say this before, and I'll always say it, is that those who give a gift of their homes, the adopters. Just show of hands, how many of you adopted? Not necessarily from Charleston Animal Society, but adopted anybody. Okay, everybody has, right? Anyone who has given a gift of their funds, no matter where that income comes from, the donors. And of course, a gift of time, the volunteers. Gift of time, the volunteers. And we have volunteers across a 180-degree spectrum of service. You know, whether they are on the front lines socializing animals or transporting animals from harm's way due to overcapacity across South Carolina, transporting them up to Boston and other areas, or whether they are raising the critical funds to make all of it possible. Volunteers, I mean, all of you together are the rock of the organization. You are the battleship. So, the three-legged milk stool, let me mention that. And a number of you, I'm assuming, know what the three-legged milk stool is, but the volunteers, the donors, and the adopters are those three legs. Those are what hold up Charleston Animal Society. That's what holds up Charleston Animal Society. And with most organizations, and it may not be an adopter, but someone else, but those donors and volunteers, supported by another third leg, is what holds up those organizations. If one leg is missing, the whole thing comes tumbling down. That's how fragile these organizations are. And as Laurel and other board members mentioned to you earlier, and it was kind of a little bit tricky because I told Jerry I wouldn't throw a lot of statistics at you, numbers today, but I sort of planted them in everybody else's remarks. But as I mentioned to you, it was another record-breaking year for the Animal Society's work with animals. And I'll say this with pride, much pride. Your Animal Society didn't just survive the past 2 years of pandemic. It thrived in its persistent and unyielding efforts to improve the lives of animals. And when I say persistent and unyielding, at the reception, you'll meet a number of our staff, and I'm sure they will affirm that. And also, not only to improve the lives of animals, but to help people better care for those animals and to teach the value of compassion to children so that they grow into humanitarians. You know, it was only about a year ago this month, that we had an incident locally where 14 children were injured with gunfire. So this violence knows no boundaries, knows no communities. We see it across the country, and we see it in our own community. And that's why it's so important for us to continue to teach compassion to children, as we like to say, so that we can grow them into humanitarians. All while never turning a blind eye to other animal shelters in need, or wherever animals were in harm's way. Shelters in the path of hurricanes, the largest animal cruelty operation in South Carolina, helping them up in Lawrence County. And families facing hard times, eviction, domestic violence, and of course, children who just want to go and whose families just want to send them to a sacred institution, an institution of learning, our schools. And the list goes on. Well, what can we do as an organization? What do we have the capacity to do to change this paradigm? We can teach compassion because we have probably the most inspiring and motivational tool for kids, for adults, and that's the animals in our care. So if we teach compassion to animals, those live creatures of God right there, that can be touched, that can be held, that can be smelled, then that compassion towards those animals will transfer to their fellow humans. And that's what it's all about. As we approach the sesquicentennial, the 150th anniversary of the Animal Society's movement to prevent cruelty to animals, well, where is it going? Where is it going now that we've somewhat exited, and we've definitely exited the pandemic storm, the storm that blinded us with uncertainty? Where are we going now that we can see the waters ahead? Still turbulent waters, but at least we can see them. At least we can see. Again, 6 years ago, a strategic planning work group was formed. It was comprised of governance, the board of directors, staff, and a variety of other stakeholders. The board charged the work group with focusing and clarifying the organization's understanding of its mission, its vision, its values, and its guiding principles to create a blueprint for the future, for our future endeavors, while establishing milestones, measurable milestones from which to measure and evaluate success. And over the course of a year, an entire year, the work group did just that. And I keep referring it to a work group as opposed to a committee because it worked. A comprehensive and ambitious plan with short-term, mid-range, and long-term goals and objectives was adopted by the board of directors. Everything that we do reflects that plan. We go back to that plan. That plan is our Bible for leading us. Most importantly, it's the organization's mantra: solving problems rather than reacting to them. We work to solve problems. We work to bring the problems to an end. And we've adjusted along the way to effectively respond to emerging needs, issues that were unforeseen at the time, 2017, 2018, even in 2019. Who could have predicted a global pandemic, a national veterinary crisis, a shallow to empty employment pool, and an unstable economy? That's just to name a few. There are many aspects of this comprehensive plan. However, I'm going to share some highlights and some exciting news with you today. The pillars of the plan are, as you've heard, to build the first no-kill state which we announced in 2015, and we launched it in 2016. Well, why didn't we launch it in 2015? Well, we didn't know how to pay for it in 2015, but with generous support from Petco Foundation at the time, which is now Petco Love, we have blazed forward with that. And when I say the first no-kill state, not in the South, but in the southern United States, all the way to California, and the majority of America's heartland, right from North Charleston, South Carolina. Secondly, to evolve our behavioral work with animals by building the first local canine behavioral transition center in the entire region, the first one. To enhance the life-saving capacity for free-roaming cats that have been displaced by rapid and extensive community development. We may not, and here's the difference between solving a problem and reacting one. We may not be able to solve the problem of rapid and extensive community development. That's out of our shop. But we sure as heck can solve the problem of free-roaming cats having nowhere to go. Establishing a farm and an equine animal safe refuge for transition into homes and or sanctuary, a hoof haven, so to speak, and to expand the Animal Society campus so that we can enhance access to veterinary care for both local families and animal shelters, access to affordable and accessible veterinary care, because you cannot have one without the other. And much of our animal welfare field just doesn't get it. You can't have one without the other. So the plan calls for building a training and development center to increase our efforts to teach compassion to children and provide better opportunities for youth. And when I say better opportunities for youth, to pursue a productive path, I'm not talking about trying to compete with the Chick-fil-A's, Walmart's, and McDonald's, where it almost seems week by week the hourly wage just continues $13, $14, $15, $16, $17 an hour. That's something that we don't have control over, and it's something that we cannot compete with financially. But what we can compete for the hearts of children to get on that productive path is that we can train you, and if you're not on the path to college or vocational school, that doesn't leave much path left other than the streets. But we can train you, and we can hire you, and we can provide you with a career. And I don't know how many folks that are making the $13, $14, $15, $16 an hour after frying up Big Macs all day. But you can, how many look back over their day's work? But we can put you into a career. And many of the folks here in this room are leading the organization, just as Jim mentioned with the young folks at his organization, or leading this organization when they just started. I think a number of them were still in high school when they just started. And this is what we can offer them, though. We can offer them a solid career that has purpose. And you go home, and everybody here today who volunteers or works or is employed at the Animal Society can tell you. They can go home and eat supper with their family and tell them, this is how many lives I've saved today. And that's how we compete with the fast food types of opportunities for kids to just keep their heads above water. We want to teach kids how to swim, as so many young folks in this room have. We'll also be able to raise the bar for South Carolina animal care and control officers and other professionals running shelters and their responsibilities and efforts. Secondly, we'll be building a much higher volume spay, neuter, and veterinary clinic to address the burdens of inaccessible and unaffordable veterinary care for both shelters and the families who love the animals. and their homes. We'll also be able to, with the plan, build an overcapacity emergency shelter for year-round challenges that we have throughout the state of South Carolina and right here in our community. A hub for transporting animals out of state, even more animals out of state, and additional much-needed support of animals and their families during hurricane evacuations. As you saw from the Humane Society of South Mississippi in the aftermath of that storm, I had the privilege of heading up the ASPCA's operation after Katrina in Mississippi at that shelter. That shelter wasn't there at the time, as a matter of fact. Another shelter was, but it was destroyed. So as that video ended and you saw the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast with all that powdery white sand and blue azul waters and everything, keep in mind, Katrina came in with 34 feet of tide across that. It came all the way up to that shelter and flooded it. And we can ignore it, dismiss it, that cannot happen here or won't happen here based on history, perhaps history back to Hurricane Hugo, but it will at some point. It will happen. And it's the Animal Society's role and culture to prepare for that, to foresee what it can that would threaten the lives of families. So let me just talk a little bit about what we've done with this plan. As you heard from Ted earlier, over the last year, even in the 2 years of pandemic, last year, our state went from a high euthanasia all the way down to an 8% euthanasia for dogs or canines. It dropped to a 14% euthanasia for cats, and we are still working diligently with shelters across the state to improve that. So as you see behind me, what we started with in 2016 was not very green. And I'm not saying green in a political sense at all. In fact, we used green before the politics did, I think. But you can see over 5 years how we have created safe havens. We didn't create them. We worked hand in hand with our counterparts across the state, wherever we could, to color this state in green, because that means life. Life for those animals. That's what we have done. And we have enhanced the life-saving capacity for free-roaming cats and behaviorally challenged dogs with the support of Hank and Laurel Greer and the Lifesaving Animal Foundation. Construction is underway to build the Lifesaving Animal Foundation's Behavioral Transition Canine Center. Lifesaving Animal Foundation's Canine Behavioral Transition Center at the Bear Greer Memorial Cat Sanctuary. And I'm the one that came up with the name for it, you know. That's like, okay. Always catching everybody, you know. Now, it's the Lifesaving Animal Foundation Canine Behavioral Transition Center. Let's make sure it is. And then at the reception, I'll have a few anecdotes and jokes about that. Inappropriate now, but anyway. But it's right down the road in Ravenel, and we're very, very proud of that. Very, very proud of that. And the head start, if you will, that's going to give to animals, particularly dogs, that have, you know, some bad manners, so to speak, some behavioral issues as we move forward. And we reached another major milestone 3 days ago, just 3 nights ago, with the city of North Charleston's decision to donate the adjacent parcel of land, prime real estate, to the Animal Society so that we can begin funding efforts to expand the campus. And I'll tell you, and the board members will tell you this, that were there, and the volunteers and the staff that were there the other night. that, and well, I'll tell you this, and I won't speak for them, but I'll speak for myself. I've lived in 9 states across the country, 3 times overseas, 4 of those states, 2 different communities. I've never been to a municipal or county or any type of legislative bodies meeting where there was such sincere, in-depth, unified discussion of how to address the needs of the residents that they represent. The residents, putting residents first, meaning the families in that city that just want safe neighborhoods and a safe community so that they can raise their children in a safe environment. And we have a guest here today, Mr. Bob King, who is a city councilman for the city of North Charleston for a number of years. And I just want to thank and ask Mr. King to stand. Very good supporter of the Animal Society. Thank you for being with us, Bob. I know you wanted to be out there water skiing on the water today and everything, but yeah, I'm glad you're here. Friends, brothers, my brothers and sisters, in this incredibly humanitarian cause, we are embarking on the most exciting next stage of our journey to make all of South Carolina safer and better for animals and for the families who love them. And to become, or to continue, not to become, but to continue. When we built the first no-kill community in all of the Southeast, an entire county in 2013, the Charleston Animal Society, you became a beacon of light for animal organizations and communities everywhere. So to continue as a beacon of light for other shelters across our state, our region, and our country. As Ted mentioned, the nation's eyes continue to be upon us down here in little old South Carolina. But it's all because of you. All because of you. Never forget that. It's all because of you. You are Charleston Animal Society. And also remember, when it's fourth and goal, everybody calls Charleston Animal Society to give them the ball when it's fourth and goal. Thank you.
Well, Joe's a tough act to follow, guys. And I'm about ready to wrap everything up, but I did just want to let you know that your Charleston Animal Society continues to break old records and set new ones while improving the life of animals here in Charleston. We're not surprised, really, that the Animal Society continues to be the top-ranked nonprofit and leading life-saving organization here in the state. Keep in mind, there are over 22,000 nonprofits in South Carolina, and of those, 400 are animal organizations. So give this organization a big hand. But none of this, as Joe mentioned before, would ever happen without you, without the volunteers, without the donors, without everybody on the amazing staff that dedicates every day to doing things that would really be tough for some of us to face. So thanks again for that. Right now, I'd like to ask fellow board members to come up and share some exciting opportunities for you to support us this year in 2022. Come on, everyone.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm Hank Greer, past chair and chairman of the Finance Committee, but that doesn't mean anything. What means something is the message that you've been hearing is that we have a roadmap to go from A to B. The incredible things that you, our staff, have done to save lives is incredible. And what I want to do today is give you a little microcosm of what we, Laurel and Hank Greer, have done to try to leapfrog into raising some money in an easy way, but we're going to make you responsible for the results. You can laugh, you can do whatever you want to, but you are going to be responsible. Because I know where you all live. But let me go back and say that Laurel and I, 4 years ago, decided, and we'd done a lot of stuff for the Animal Society, but we had to say, how do we leapfrog something? How do we make a difference in a meaningful day, in a meaningful way, and do it quickly? Well, one of the things you see here is a beautiful car. It's a Lexus RX 350L. The L means it's a long wheelbase, means it's a safer, more comfortable ride, more legroom, yada, yada, yada. That's not the message. The message is you have a chance to win this by buying raffle tickets. Let me go back and tell you what happened 4 years ago that Laurel and I decided to do. We had a Mini Cooper convertible, British Racing Green. It was cupcake. It was wonderful. But we gave it to the Animal Society and we let them raffle it off. Now, the strange story is that a woman bought one ticket, and she bought it for her mother in Cleveland. That one ticket won that beautiful car that I loved. I would have loved to have had it. But it won that car. And this middle-aged lady was in Cleveland driving around this convertible, this beautiful Mini Cooper, British Racing Green. I don't know whether this is true or not, but several weeks later, she got a new boyfriend. Now, I can't subscribe to that. I don't know that it's true, but it could. Things happen. The next year, we bought a BMW X3, another beautiful car. As luck would have it, a gentleman in either Hollywood or Ravenel, one of those places, bought one ticket and won the car. One ticket. I don't know that this is true, but I was told several weeks later he won the lottery. I can't promise, but things do happen. Last year, and this is a true story. This is a heartbeater. A family, a young couple, man and woman, bought one ticket. They didn't even know they were buying a ticket. They were donating $100 to the Charleston Animal Society. And oh, by the way, they got a raffle ticket. They won a Tesla. And the thing that was a heart grabber for me, and I'll try not to start crying, is because it was won by a wounded American veteran. So that was a true thing, and that was a message from God. That was beautiful. Okay, now we don't want you out there buying one ticket. I have to admit. No, that's wrong, because the more you buy, the more chances you have. I mean, do the math. I was a math major. Well, I wasn't, but you can do the math and know the more tickets you have, the more tickets you buy, the better chance you have. I have been buying tickets every year, and I get grief. I get grief from Laurel. And I bought tickets this year, and I'm going to keep buying tickets. And she says, well, Hank, why do you buy tickets? You gave him the car. What would the optics be if you won? The optics would be that Hank won a car. But that ain't going to happen, and I'm counting on you not to let it happen, because I don't need to live with this woman angry. 3 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to save my butt by buying tickets so I don't win. The second thing you can do is get a deduction for the tickets you buy so you don't have to spend tax money to these Looney Tunes down in Washington who don't know how to spend it anyway. And the third thing is, you get my drift? Okay. And the third thing is, and most importantly, you're doing it for the animals because the animals need it and the animals deserve it. So bottom line, do those 3 things, but most importantly, help the animals, and secondarily, save my butt.
Hi, I'm Louise Palmer, and I'm honored to be a member of the board of directors. This year, we rolled out a special license plate to underscore our efforts to build the first no-kill state in the southern United States. No-kill South Carolina license plate is available for purchase online at DMV. The numbers under 100 can be personally selected at Charleston Animal Society and the No-Kill South Carolina kiosk in the hallway. Today has more, the kiosk in the hallway has more information about this great opportunity to show your support and help the organization reach this unprecedented achievement. And I'm just going to say, just as an aside, I've never, ever been as honored as I am that I got selected to be on the board. It's the most incredible organization. Thank you.
Now, to be honest, when I first got the call, I was asked, will you dress up? Well, I'm dressed, but no, they said dress up. Well, I will be dressed up on October 15th, and I will see you at the Gaillard for our gala. It is our largest fundraiser for 2022. It will be our largest fundraiser with your help for 2022. And I was going to leave the theme a bit of a surprise, but if you walked by that beautiful kiosk when you came in, you might have guessed it. We're going to have a wonderful Havana Nights theme, and we're going to have some amazing music and food, and I want to see all of you there, every one of you there, sharing and making this our top fundraiser for 2022. So please stop by the kiosk to save the date and get your costume ready now.
What an incredible family we are. Again, thank you all for being here in person, and thank you all who are watching us virtually. We hope you've enjoyed the program. We've shared a lot of exciting things with you. You can tell we're very proud. So please enjoy visiting the staff and the kiosks we have out there for further information about some of the things we talked about. Thank you. God bless you all. Appreciate you so much.